Hi and welcome to Life is Magic AF. I'm Leonie and each week I'll be reading out your stories and experiences of all things weird, spooky, unexplained, miraculous or magical. I'll also be talking about anything related to those stories and giving you tips on how you can embrace your magic. If you'd like your story featured on the show, please email me at magicafstories@gmail.com. Today, we're talking about real experiences and synchronicity. Our first story today is from C. C says, when we were younger, our parents used to own a house in France. It wasn't anything fancy. It was a really old farmhouse, about 200 years old in some parts, and they were renovating it, which was really amazing to witness. It was in a small town in the north of France, the sort of town where you know your neighbours and have them over for dinner, or who would cut your grass if you were away. Because of the renovations upstairs, we had to sleep in a large living room downstairs. If you wanted to use the bathroom at night, you'd have to cross another sitting room, which was attached to a kitchen breakfast table area, through the doors of the main kitchen, and it was by the back door. I was only about 5 at the time, and so I never really liked going at night because it was so cold and dark, but needs must. One night I woke up and needed to use the bathroom, and I could see that there was some light coming through from the area in the sitting room kitchen table area, so I thought maybe my mum and dad were up having a drink. I could hear people talking quietly and laughing, so I opened the door gingerly to see what was happening. As I opened the door, I could see about 4 to 5 men who weren't supposed to be there. They were all dressed in big white shirts with their wide sleeves rolled up, suspenders holding up their trousers. Some had hats on the table. There was a long baguette of bread and old tin drinking cups. They were almost see-through, but you could still make them out. They were all cheering and sharing stories, or so I guessed. They were speaking in French, so I just assumed that's what was happening. I was shocked somewhat, but also intrigued as to how they got in, etc. So I closed the door and went over to where my mum's bed was. She was asleep, so I woke her up and told her what I'd seen. Sleepily, she comes over to the door with me, and to my surprise, the light under the door was gone. She opened the door and no one was there. I told her again what had happened, and she tried to reassure me that it was my imagination or a dream. But she did believe in spirits, so after some thought, I could see on her face that she knew I wasn't lying or making it up. I still needed the loo, of course, so I asked her to come with me. She did. Since then, I always woke someone up to come to the bathroom with me in that house. Unfortunately, when my parents divorced a year or so later, the house was left to my dad. I never got to find out the story of that farmhouse, but it's a memory that sticks with me now, and when people are sharing stories, this one always comes to mind. Wow! I definitely think that was an echo of the past, like a movie projection that replayed every now and again, or maybe it was the anniversary of something, I don't know, but it doesn't sound like they were aware of you or like they had any bad intent or anything like that. It sounds to me like it was an energetic imprint, or like a residual energy it's sometimes called. We all leave imprints like this around every day. Sometimes if the energy or intensity of an action is particularly strong, it will leave a lasting impression. And so there are places that are haunted, but they're haunted by replays of things that happened rather than haunted by actual spirits who've remained there. These are the impressions that we can pick up on when we go into buildings, or you'll have definitely felt it in the atmosphere if you've gone into a room where like people have been arguing, for example. It just hangs in the air. So I think that's what happened here. If you find that you're really sensitive to the energies around you or places that you regularly go, you can cleanse that space. When we become more sensitive to energies, we can pick up on different emotions or intentions from people, places, or things. Learning how to cleanse negative and unwanted energies from around us is a useful skill to have, as it helps us to maintain our peace and energy balance. Space clearing can be done anywhere that you are or go, so here are a few ways that you can make sure the energies of the spaces around you are balanced and positive. So tidying up, it sounds almost too simple, but it helps if we remove objects that have negative energy attached to them or just don't have good memories attached. It also creates a vibration of cleansing and clearing in the space itself. Space clearing sprays or aura sprays. These are fantastic as they are portable and you can quickly spritz away negative energies. The ingredients in the sprays will have been specifically chosen to remove and neutralise negative energies and are usually made with natural ingredients. You can also make these yourself, so if you do want to find out how to make them yourself, just send me a message and I'll be happy to tell you. Reiki. So I know I always go on about Reiki, but I love it. So Reiki can also be used to clear a space or area by radiating it out from yourself to reach all around the perimeter of an area that you want to cleanse. Be sure to set your intent. This can also be done remotely, especially using the distance symbol, which is given in Reiki level 2. So my favourite one, salt water. I always recommend this to everybody. Anyone that asks me about space clearing, my go-to is always salt water. Ordinary table salt will do, but obviously if you use sea salt or Himalayan pink salt and filtered or purified water, this will be even more energetically cleaner. You don't need to soak everything when you are using salt water. You just need to gently sprinkle the water over an area. Make sure you set your intention. This can be done walking through an area, a property, or in a single room. And also placing crystals around is another way that you can cleanse and clear a space. Some particularly cleansing and clearing crystals include hematite, black tourmaline, jet, obsidian, and smoky quartz. These crystals also have a protective quality to them as well. And I think last time we talked about psychic protection and we talked about dark crystals. So these crystals will also work really well for that as well. Setting them around the four corners of a room, for example, forms a really simple crystal grid. More on grids later. You can mix and match any of the ways I've mentioned so that your areas and spaces are cleansed and cleared just how you want them. So as I said a minute ago, whatever we do, whether it's positive or negative, we leave energy trails, and sometimes our threads or trails continue to interweave with people in the strangest of ways. Our next story is from Kay. He says, "One time when I was in my 20s, me and my oldest kid's mum went to Gran Canaria. When we entered the hotel we were staying, I remember an older white couple walking past us, and the woman looked at me dead in the face for a second, but it was longer than you'd normally look for someone, and I thought, why is she looking at me like that? But I just brushed it off, whatever. There was another time when we were at the bar, and the same woman and her husband were at the other end of the bar to us, and I noticed them looking again, and I remember saying to my missus at the time, that woman's looking again. I still didn't say anything to her, but my girlfriend was just trying to laugh it off. Anyway, the next day we found ourselves at the side of the pool in the hotel. We just sat down on the sun loungers, just me and my girlfriend, and then about 10 minutes later, the same couple came out and sat down right next to us, so we just got talking to them. Long story short, the woman asked us where we were from. We said England, Bristol. It turned out that they were from Bristol as well. I definitely didn't know this woman. But anyway, they said they were from Bristol, and so we thought, well, that's crazy to come all the way here and also be from Bristol. So I said to the woman, I saw you look at me a couple of times, but I don't think I know you. She said, well, what part of Bristol do you live in? We live in the Fish Ponds area. I said, I went to school in Fish Ponds. It turned out that me and her son were in the same year at school. She couldn't believe it. She'd recognised me from when her son was at school with me all those years ago. It had to have been at least 10 years plus ago. We'd never properly met. She told her husband and he couldn't believe it either. It was so weird to get all the way there and meet someone from the same city that I actually went to school with her son. So weird. Another similar story from Elle. Elle says, once when I was 11 or 12, I went on holiday to Cornwall with my mum and my brother and sister. So just to give you some perspective, I grew up in a small town in the southeast of England, and Cornwall is way in the southwest. We were only in Cornwall for a week, and on one of the days that week, we just decided that morning to go to Land's End. When we got to Land's End, in the queue next to us was a boy from my tutor group at school, and he recognised me and I recognised him, and it turned out that he was also just visiting Land's End for the day. It was so strange to get all the way to Cornwall, 6 hours drive away, and we hadn't even decided where we were going to go on what days, and then I saw him. I wondered, what are the odds of that happening, that we both just happened to go there on the same day? Spooky. Definitely 2 cases of synchronicity there. Oh my goodness. So you have probably heard that term before, synchronicity. It is a term coined by psychologist Carl Jung. It is the appearance of meaningful coincidences in your life that are unlikely, ironic, and sometimes very helpful. This phenomenon is like a wink from the universe, a sign of your intuition and connectedness. If you've been experiencing synchronicity, you've been in the right place at the right time. There will definitely be people who say the probability of these types of events is very low, but for a lot of people, synchronicity actually happens all the time. Some examples are bumping into someone you were just thinking about, or receiving a phone call, text message, or email from him or her. That happens to me so often. Like, I'll just randomly start thinking about a friend, and then I will see them in my social media feed, and I haven't seen them for like months and months. Or they'll just randomly text me out of the blue, or they will like a picture, or just something really random. Like, it happens so often. It happened like 3 times this week with 3 different friends. So weird. Another one is randomly coming across something that solves a problem you've been having, even though you weren't looking for it. For example, randomly seeing an advert on TV, or an item on the shelf in a shop just jumps out at you as if to say, here, this is exactly what you need. Watching a film or TV show that has a storyline mirroring your own current issues in life. Meeting a person who is able to assist you through a current challenge randomly as if they've been delivered directly to help you. Or even just amazing timing, where one thing happens after another at exactly the right time. It's like everything just lines up perfectly. If I'm honest, I'm sure I don't notice every single time this happens, but when I do notice, I do get a really strong sense that I'm on the right path. And it just feels like everything is going to work out for me. Like, even I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, I just get this feeling that spirit are working things out for me, like behind the scenes. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a really comforting sign from the universe. How do you see it? Like, do you see it that way as well? I'd really love to hear what kind of strange coincidences you've had, or times when you know that the universe is definitely sending you a message, or you feel really supported. Like, what happens? Like, tell me your stories. I love stories like that. That is the kind of thing that this show is all about. So that is all for today. So thank you again for listening. Please join us next time for more shared experiences. If you want to share your story, and as I said, I would love to hear it, please send in your stories to magicafstories@gmail.com. It's all just further proof that this life really